You're watching News 24 Live. We have finally reached the knockout rounds of Super Rugby 2015. I'm joined in studio by Sport 24 editor Garen Lamley and chief rugby writer Rob Howing to preview this weekend's playoffs before we reach the semi-finals next weekend. Gents, thanks for coming in this afternoon.
Hi, Nick.
So, yes, down to 6. We have these funny little playoff qualifier, quarterfinals, whatever you want to call them, Rob. First of all, the final 6, what do you make of the sort of composition of the final 6 teams? Are you surprised by any of them?
Not really. I mean, we knew from quite a few weeks ago that the South African challenge was very much sort of backs to the wall stuff, and fearing that just one team would make the cut, which of course did eventually transpire. The Lions ended up quite well out of the picture in the final analysis, which was a little bit disappointing because it would have been a real feel-good story if they'd managed to go all the way to a sort of first-time playoffs. But Stormers obviously, have at least they have some experience of this phase. The big hope, of course, will be that they sort of give South African rugby a little bit of its respect back by winning this crucial game at Newlands, so that they've got that advantage, which is not insignificant. Brumbies have had to travel, so we want them to be in the semi-finals very badly because otherwise, if the South African challenge blows out ahead of the last 4, it really tells you that we've had a pretty grim year. It does amount to it's exciting in the sense that we finally hit the knockout stage. There were a lot of reasonably inconsequential games in the last few weeks, and obviously we saw the Stormers fielding a weakened side for their last game in the ordinary season phase. So this really is nitty-gritty stuff, and I think we're in for some tremendous rugby on both fronts on Saturday.
Okay, well, let's get stuck into it, Rob. I'm going to stay with you. The Highlanders hosting the Chiefs. Just in terms of the team selections, Fekitoa and Nasimano back for the Highlanders. And Sam Cane, Hicka Elliott are the big sort of returning players for the Chiefs. Chiefs' 4th consecutive time they've made the playoffs. Obviously, great record in this competition. Highlanders having a really good season, but probably not that experienced in playoff rugby.
Yeah, a very difficult game to call. I suppose the smart money tells you that Highlanders might be slight favourites. They've played some really exhilarating rugby, real sort of champagne stuff, putting the ball through their hands effortlessly from all sort of positions on the park. And you look at those teams on paper, both of them as near as damn it to full strength, which is obviously a nice development at this stage of the season. Often in Super Rugby, there's such a high level of attrition that guys are falling off the radar left, right, and centre through injuries. But it's not the case. I think you'll see the majority of the cream of the players from both sides will be present. I think Highlanders, given that they've won both games in the ordinary season phase against the Chiefs, they even beat them in the away game, although it was a lot closer. And quite recently, at the end of May, they won 36-9 at home to the Chiefs. So they'll take quite a lot of heart from that result and be thinking, we can do a repeat dose here. As you say, though, of course, they're sort of rookies in terms of this kind of final series situation. So we're yet to see how they handle that pressure. The Chiefs, of course, past masters at handling knockout pressure, if you like, and sort of fairly recent past champions as well. But I just fancy that the Chiefs are on the receding end of a little sort of mini heyday for them, and that perhaps the Highlanders are ready to almost sort of bang another nail in that theory. Okay,
Garen, your thoughts on this Kiwi derby?
Yeah, it should be a fantastic game. Really looking forward to this match. As Rob says, the Highlanders have played some amazing rugby this season, but the experience lies with the Chiefs. They're 2-time champions as recently as 2 years ago. So, they're going to have all the experience. And Liam Messam, their skipper, he's going to lead by example. I think the Chiefs will have the advantage among the forwards, while the Highlanders will have the advantage out wide, among the backs. But some fantastic players on show: Ben Smith, Aaron Smith, Sonny Bill Williams in the centre with his cousin Tim Nana Williams, also back from injury. Brody Retallick back for the Chiefs, I think will be key as well. They're playing indoors at the Forsyth Bar Stadium, so no issues with the wind and the cold and the rain and that sort of thing. Again, it should be a fantastic rugby match. I think the Highlanders, will be helped by the fact they haven't really been there that often, but they're playing against familiar foes they have beaten this season twice, as Rob says. You know, it's not like they have to play an Australian team or South African team. They know that, you know, direct opponents that they play with week in, week out in their local NPC tournament, as well as for the All Blacks. So, you know, like I said, familiarity helps, I think, in a situation like this. They know they've got a lot to play for. It looks like the winner of this game, if everything goes according to plan, will actually play the Hurricanes again. You know, another New Zealand team up against a New Zealand team. So, you know, lots to play for. It's going to be close. You know, when you come to these playoff matches, obviously bonus points go out the window. There's no bonus points for 4 tries, losing by 7 points. You really just have to win, and if you win ugly, there's no problem with that. As you know, you'll march on. The other team will go home. So, you know, I'd like to think that the Highlanders, just based on the rugby that they played this season, will walk away winners. But it's going to be tight. Could come down to a missed penalty, a controversial referee decision, perhaps. Hopefully not. But I'm going to go for the Highlanders to win, but 3 or 4 points at absolute most. But again, you know, like we'll chat about the other match now, but both matches could go either way, you know, based on a silly yellow card, for example. So for me, home victory in the opening qualifier, Highlanders by 3 or 4.